Couch co-op. Now, the visuals I'm showing you right now might not make a lot of sense, or you might not really understand what's going on right now, but couch co-op used to be an absolute staple of the gaming industry. Today, couch co-op is literally only found in a very few arcade games that are built upon a multiple player system. If we exclude the arcade games such as FIFA, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, these type of games that are built upon player versus player combat or challenge, it's very rare that we find a couch co-op game found in the multiple top quality titles we have today. Now, if you're looking at the title, The Death of Couch Co-op, it may seem a bit grim or a bit exaggerated, but in my humble opinion, I would have to say that it is true. Other than the games that I've mentioned before, couch co-op has essentially been abandoned by a large amount of video game developers. Now, what even got me into this YouTube thing was, I really enjoyed gaming and I enjoyed having discussions of this sort. And I posted a little bit of a thread over there on truegaming, on the subreddit over there, and I said, from what I see, couch co-op has kind of like disappeared. It used to be a staple in the game, and I'll mention a couple of games that really embraced it. But if we consider the games we have today, it's very few that really push it out. I'll give you some examples. If we go back a couple of years ago, back in the day, back in the PlayStation 2 era, there were a large amount of games that were really good and had good couch co-op systems. Now, of course, if we ignore, as I said, the fighting games, but Tekken 5 was a really good one. But, there were other games that weren't exactly arcade games in a sense that really embraced this couch co-op feature. If I think of it, I'm thinking Ratchet and Clank. Oh man, the amount of great times I had playing Ratchet and Clank 3, playing attrition, base on base combat. There were so many options. It was an entire open world map that you can play in and have an absolute blast over time. If you had some more controllers, you could jump in with a couple more friends and have a whole lot of fun. There were vehicles, there were different guns. You could upgrade your character as you continue to play the game. There were hours and hours of fun that you could enjoy here. Another experience was Shrek. I used to play Shrek, way back in the day, these movie type games. They had a really extensive co-op system. You were able to absolutely complete the entire game alongside your friends with this really good and interesting integrative co-op. Now, understandable, if co-op isn't integrated into the main story or main thing, it's cool, but have it as a side feature. These other games, there were games such as Ratatouille and such, and other games, there were really cool co-op systems that were available on the side. They were like, oh, if you want to play 2-player, definitely have a good time, hop in. There were dedicated modes created just for the co-op experience, challenges, cool stuff, Easter eggs, some cool things for you to find out. There were very cool things that were implemented, and this was done at a very high level. Even if you can compare the AAA games, Call of Duty, Halo, back in the day, these top of the line AAA titles, every single game had a solid co-op mode where you could fight your friends at the comfort of your own home. Now, if we consider the games today, it's only one player. Only one player. Even if we consider the newer arcade games, Need for Speed. Unfortunately, Need for Speed has completely abandoned the co-op system, and I'm definitely very surprised on why they chose to do this. But we'll explore some of those possible reasons a little bit later. Now, a Need for Speed, a traditionally arcade racer, an arcade racer, you could say they prioritize fun over realism, and I definitely say that's true. I remember back in the day playing Need for Speed Most Wanted, 2005, having a great time playing co-op with one of my friends. We lock in, my friend arrives, he tunes one of the cars he enjoys, and the upgrades you get depend on how far you've progressed in the story. You can choose the NOS, choose the design, and you end up racing each other on the multiple tracks, and we could have an absolutely sensational time. But today, these newer Need for Speed games, and I could tell because from Need for Speed 2012, things began to change, and 2-player co-op was essentially abandoned. Now, in my humble opinion, I'd have to say there are 3 incentives, 3 reasons that have motivated why game companies in general have absolutely abandoned couch co-op. When I dropped this little discussion thread over on Reddit, one of the most profound statements that was made by one of the commenters was that AAA games have essentially abandoned couch co-op, but indie games and indie developers have embraced it. Now, let's jump into the possible reasons on why this has happened. Now, in my opinion, reason one, and I'd say probably the most substantial one, is money. Money, money, money. Now, you may not understand what I mean by saying money is the reason they've abandoned us. Let me elaborate. Now, back in the day, you could go over to a friend's house, have a great time playing couch co-op, go through the main story completely within the comforts of your own home or within the comforts of one of your homies' house, play the game, have a great time, great experience, and then you continue with your day. Now, because AAA games have chosen to toss it away, you have one of two options now left to you. Either you don't play the game at all, or you buy the game yourself. Now that's where I think they've got you. Or, well, I guess you could lend it from your friend once they've got it. But like, times have changed. Now people buy games off the PlayStation Store. People buy games online. So it's no longer as easy to just lend the games to your friend as it was back in the day. Especially with the new influx of the digital consoles that have been released. Your only option is to pick up the title yourself or not to pick it up at all. That's why I say money is a big factor, because now everybody in your friend group now has to buy that game. Instead, you could go over and two of you or three or even four of you could go over and complete the game and have a great ball all by yourselves. But now each and every single person has to buy the game individually. Very, very interesting points right there. Makes things difficult, and in terms of making the bottom line, a lot more people are going to be benefiting. Yay! For example, they completely took it out in Need for Speed Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? As someone who genuinely enjoyed Need for Speed games, I was surprised when I thought, ew, I got two controllers here and I can't play with my friends. What is going on? And then I saw like, here's the reason. And this will be a great segue as we go into the second reason why I think couch co-op has been abandoned. Now, other than money, I think a very, very big reason on why couch co-op has essentially been abandoned is the internet. The great advent of the internet has benefited a huge amount of lives and benefited everyone. There are a whole lot of ways to make money. It's essentially globalized the world. There's so much information available to us. But the internet has essentially revolutionized the entire gaming industry as well. Now, instead of prioritizing couch co-op games, everybody can buy the game in your friend group and then you all play together. And I think this is a factor between the money and the internet being linked together. Because of this, it encourages more people to buy the game, because we can now all play together within the internet. Pros and cons to this, of course, you're open to a much bigger player base, whole lot of fun that can be had. But just because the internet's available doesn't mean you should take away the option for us to play with our friends when I invite them over to the cribbo. You get me? So that's why I have a bit of an issue with it. Because of the internet, everything is so much easier to access. You can play someone in another country, and that's made it easier. But because of that, almost no effort is put into couch co-op at all. It's not just because of this that, but as I said, internet and the money, these two reasons are very closely linked, because many game companies have pushed and instead prioritized games as a service. Why? Because they're able to input microtransactions. With microtransactions, they're able to keep you and every single player on the hook. The longer you play the game, the higher the chances are that you will spend real life money on improving your character and being able to compete with the multiple other players who have unlimited time or children who play the game all the time. You'll end up buying microtransactions out of frustration or just because you're enjoying the game so much. On couch couch co-op, before the idea was for you to earn your upgrades. You know, if you play the game long enough, you put enough hours, or you're good enough and defeat a certain amount of opponents, then you would unlock skins, more weapons, or whatever the type of game you're doing. The more you played the game, you were rewarded for it. Now you're rewarded by putting money into your EA or whatever gaming company that you're playing into that account, and only then will you be rewarded. More money you put in, the more you'll get out, which is definitely not a good mod. Now let's get on over to the final reason that I think the couch co-op has been pushed to the side and a little bit neglected. Well, I do think the main proprietor definitely is money. I'd say the last possible reason that it could be is performance. Now in the day and age today, graphics, fidelity, performance, making sure you hit 60 frames per second is something that is highly prioritized, especially with the advent of the new gaming consoles. If your game isn't hitting 60 FPS, that's a bit of a problem, especially if you consider the amount of backlash Warner Brothers got from putting out Gotham Knights at a meager 30 frames per second. That's a big issue. Now, if you put in couch co-op or make it somewhat significant, perhaps there are fears that the rendering systems and the amount of work that'll have to go into making the system will be too strenuous, and time will be wasted on this endeavor, because it's quite difficult for you to have someone of like an open world experience. You know, 1v1 player, it's quite a taxing, and it would require a huge amount of effort. And you know, I don't know about the analytics or anything like that, but maybe there just aren't enough people playing or interested in couch co-op for it to even happen. If you look at recent years, the only big, not even really big, but larger games that came out that were couch co-op focused are Cuphead, which is kind of an indie title that became mainstream, and A Way Out, which is essentially a dedicated co-op game. You can't play it alone. So that's how it was. So perhaps the analytics as well is a substantial reason on why people, I guess, maybe there weren't enough people playing couch co-op anyway. But if you really think about it, back in the day, they weren't really even able to collect these kind of statistics, because back in the days of the PS2, not many people were connected to the internet, so you wouldn't be able to collect this data in the first place. But couch co-op has definitely been abandoned, and it's a real shame, because I have so many memorable experiences playing games with my friends over at their houses, over at my house, midnight club, whole lot of fun with the homies, playing these games, completing Shrek 2 with my friends, completing and fighting each other on Ratchet and Clank. Memorable experiences that have unfortunately been abandoned. If you want to play a co-op game with your homies, you better be picking up something arcade. Either you've got FIFA, 2K, Madden, you know, not even Need for Speed anymore, unfortunately, you see. So only if you have these type of very traditional arcade games are you going to have the option to be able to play couch co-op, and I think it's a real shame. Yeah, man, I think it's a real shame that, you know, it's already been just completely abandoned. And as mentioned before, I do understand that couch co-op has definitely been embraced by the multiple indie titles, but unfortunately these indie titles don't get the, you know, necessary recognition or exposure for us to find out about them, and a lot of them don't end up making it to consoles. You know, while some people might not want to admit this, I understand PC Master Race, but console gaming, Xbox and PlayStation, are the two largest gaming spheres where you can game today, and those are the machinery that the majority of people have to play these games. So these games never actually make it. If you're a PC player, the chances of you playing co-op with one of your homies at your place is very unlikely. The chances of you are higher to be playing on your own individual PC, your friend playing on his PC, you guys connect on Discord and you play with each other online. That's the more common thing to happen, not a couch co-op. And that's unfortunately how it is, because couch co-op was something definitely dedicated for chilling on your couch, chilling with the homies and having yourselves a great time. I think it's absolutely a shame. Understandably, for adults, as guys who are a bit older and you've got working, you've got things to do, it's not always going to be possible for you to really have time to actually play this. I'm making this argument essentially for the younger dudes, the children, the preteens, the guys in high school who are still out there chilling and still have some free time to just have a good times with the homies. You know, a lot of these things have abandoned and a lot of heart has been lost in replace of earning more money, which is truly a shame. You could say this even bleeds into other facets facets of entertainment, you know. Even if we think about it, like, even, bro, like cartoons, there used to be high quality cartoons that were made for teens, bro. Like, dude, high quality stuff. Now the focus is on remakes and these type of things. Nothing really high quality for the teens. Like back in the day, we had cartoons like Kick Buttowski, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Danny Phantom, all these types of really quality cartoons. And you know, Avatar is so good that they even adults reacting to Avatar: The Last Airbender today and reacting into on YouTube. So it just shows that, you know, unfortunately the heart has been lost in a lot of forms of media entertainment we have today, and it's a shame that it's only really being embraced by indie game creators. But hey, man, it's all right. When there is a will, there is a way. So guys, if you guys see an indie game that is of really high quality, hey, drop it down in the comments. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Yeah, and if it's available on console, yeah, definitely let me know, because I'm looking for more of those type of games. So yeah, man, the death of couch co-op, it's a real shame. Hopefully we're gonna get some more interesting and exciting co-op games. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a co-op game, but a game that perhaps has a feature of co-op that is really good and enjoyable. Just something to think about. Yeah, guys, thank you once again for watching another video. This was another true gaming topic. More videos, definitely on the way. Much more content coming, more video game topics to talk about. You know, give me ideas down there in the comments about a topic that you guys feel that's worthwhile for me to discuss, or a game, or an older game, a newer game that you guys would be interested in me reviewing. So guys, take it easy, like, comments, subscribe, tell me your thoughts down in the comments. Let's have a discussion, let's have a dialogue. Take it easy, guys. Keep well. Cheers.